today we're going to be doing percent and estimation. So our objective today is to estimate the percent of a number. So there are two ways to do estimation. You can use it as a decimal or you can use it as a fraction. So let's go ahead and estimate 52% as a decimal. Well, what would that be? So the 50%, we would make this 50%, right? And that would just equal 0.5. So what is the fraction, right? Well, that would just be 1/2. So 26%, we're going to estimate that. And the closest one, the good number to estimate that to, would be 25%. So go to the nearest 5 or 10, depending on what you're estimating. And then this equals 0.25 as your decimal. And 0.25 is just 1/4, so it's 1/4. So estimate what 62% of 500 is. So now we're going to use two different methods. We're going to use a fraction form. So I know that 62 is 62 over 100. And I want to take the percent of 500. And when I say of, that means to multiply. So I'm going to times that by 500. Well, I like to make it as a fraction, so I'm going to put it over 1. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply it. I do want to simplify by dividing by 100 on the top and bottom first, so my multiplication is a little bit simpler. So when I do that, what do I get? I get 60, so this becomes a 1, and this becomes a 5. So then I get 62 times 5. So then I would get out my calculator and do 62 times 5. And that is 310. So this is my fraction form. To find using my decimal, same thing. I have 62% of 500. So change this to a decimal, and when we do that, we divide by 100 or move it over twice. So divide by 100. So I get 0.62. Of means to multiply 500. My favorite is using the decimal method because it always works. All you have to do is move the decimal over 2 times. And then when I put 0.62 times 500 into my calculator, I get 310, which is the same as what we did as the fraction method. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same problem but using the 10% method. So the best thing to do is go ahead and estimate 62%. So that is 60%. So we need to find 60% of 500. Now, if we find 10% of 500, then all we need to find 60% is to multiply that by 6. So let's go ahead and find 10% of 500 because we just need 6 groups of these, right? So to find 10% of 500, all you need to do is just move the decimal over 1 space, right? Because what you're doing is 0.1 times 500. This just means to move the decimal over by 1 place value or by dividing by 10. So 10% of 500 is just 50. Well, if I have 10%, how do I figure out 60%? Well, I need 6 groups of that. So to find 6 groups of that, 60% would be the 50 times 6, right? Because I have 10% is 50, and if I multiply it times 6, I would get 300. So that means the estimate of 62% of 500 is 300%. And we had just found out that it was about 310 on the previous one. So my estimate would be 300%. Let's go to the next problem. So what if it's greater than 100? Well, what we're going to do is same thing. I want to round this to an easy number. So I'm going to say 120% of 50. So how would I do this? Well, the best thing to do is to break the 120% up. I break it up into 100% and 20%. Okay, so what is 100% of 50? So I'm going to go ahead and do that over here. So 100% of 50, well, that would be the total, right? So that would just be 50. So I'm going to add 50 right here, plus whatever my 20% is, right? So now I need to find 20% of 50, right? And this is 0.2 times 50. And when I do 0.2 times 50, that is just 10. So 20% of 50 is 10. Okay? So then I just add 50 plus 10, and I get 60. So the estimate of 122% of 50 is about 60. Let's go on to the next one. What if it is less than 1? So this is a little bit trickier, but not so bad. If we can find 1%, then we can find a fraction of it. That's what we're going to do. First, we're going to find 1% of, and we're going to just round this to a nice number. So let's just say 800. So 1% of that, remember that would be 0.01 times 800. That would be just 8. Okay? So when you're multiplying by 1%, you actually move it over twice. You divide it by 100. Okay? So 1% is 8. Okay? So if I want to find 1/4%, so 1/4%, then that means I need to take 1/4 of my 1%. So I need to do 8 times 1/4, or 8 divided by 4. So then I would get 2. So 1/4% of about 789 is about 2. Okay. Our final question. So last year, 639 students attended the summer camp. Of those who attended this year, 0.5% also attended summer camp last year. About how many students attended summer camp 2 years in a row? So what we need to do is we need to find 0.5% of the 639. Okay? Well, 5% isn't easy. So if we find 1%, then we can find half of a percent. Okay? So let's find 1% of, and then we're going to estimate this. We'll just say, I don't know, 600. Okay? So 1% of 600 would be 0.01 times 600. So you would move the decimal over twice by dividing by 100. Okay, this tells you how many times, right? So I would be 6. So 1% is 1%, right? But I wanted to find half of a percent. So then that means I would just need to divide by 2, right? If I divide both of them by 2, then that would give me half a percent. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that would be a half of a percent, or 0.5%. And that's it. Good luck on your assignment.